A few weeks ago, I showed you how to make sourdough cinnamon rolls. A viewer, Kathy, asked if I could show how to make classic cinnamon rolls with instant or active dry yeast. This is a really delicious recipe, and there's a lot of ingredients, but they're not hard to get, they're not expensive, so there'll be a link below that will give you full nutrition and more details. You want to begin with 3 2/3 cup flour, that's 550 grams. Add 2 teaspoons of yeast, 7 grams, 1/4 cup of sugar, 50 grams, 1 teaspoon of salt, 5 grams, and stir this together. You're just stirring it briefly so that you can get all the ingredients combined well enough that you don't have pockets of salt or sugar in the dough. Next, you're going to add 1 cup of milk. I like to warm it. It's 240 milliliters. You can use any kind of milk here. I'm actually using buttermilk. You can use fat-free. You can use half and half. You can use part water, part milk. Add 2 eggs to that, 100 grams. And then 1/4 cup of butter or margarine is fine, 56 grams, and I like to melt it after I weigh it. You're going to basically stir this together. You don't have to use a spoon. I find it easier. You can use your hand. You can put this in a mixer, stand mixer, for 10 minutes. It's all entirely up to you. It's not a hard recipe to do. You're going to get this nice silky dough. It's a little bit sticky, so be prepared for that. You can use either instant or active dry yeast here. If you use the active dry yeast, you need to add it to some warm liquid so that it activates. Not all active yeast is like that, so just check the back of your package. But most yeast you find today is the instant type yeast, and you can add it dry or wet. I typically like to still dissolve it because I don't like the little fine granules that sometimes happens with the instant yeast. So just do however you feel comfortable doing. And as you can see, it's come together pretty good. I'm just going to bring it together a little bit more before I toss it out onto the counter. I'm not going to show you the entire kneading process. I'm going to show you the basics, but if you need more help, I'll include 2 links below that will give you detailed information on how to knead both regular bread and sticky dough. This is a sort of a hybrid. It's a little bit sticky at a point, but it comes back together really nice and supple, so you shouldn't have too much trouble kneading this by hand. And all you have to do is either pick it up and push it away from you like this and just get a rhythm going. And then magically by editing, it will be done. It will no longer stick to your hands. Don't be afraid if it does stick to your hands partway through, because it will. It is a stickier dough, so expect that, especially around the 4-minute mark. And you just want to knead this until you get to the point that it's easily stretched and you can see light behind it. I'm going to tear off a piece and show you so you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people tell you to do the window pane test, but they don't really explain it to you. So let's go through this briefly. You can just take a piece of the dough and just gently tease it until you can see if you can see light behind it without it tearing. It will look a lot like this. As you can see, there's light showing really greatly through it, and it's not tearing. That is basically indicating you are done with your dough. It's well kneaded and you can stop. You don't always get to this point, and if you don't, it just takes longer to rise. So then once you're done, you're going to get a sticky ball still. It's going to stick a little bit because that's just the way it is. Put a little grease on the inside or cooking spray, and you rub it around before you put the dough in. It's a lot easier to remove after, and you won't have a lot of trouble getting it out of the bowl. You don't have to do this step. I normally forget, and it works out just fine. Cover it and let it rest for 1 to 2 hours. After it's rested, you want to make the filling. 1/2 cup brown sugar, 113 grams, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 8 grams, and I like to put in a tablespoon of flour, 9 grams. That is completely optional. The flour helps it from running out all over the bottom and making a mess. It basically helps this mixture stick to the actual cinnamon rolls, and you get more cinnamon flavor that way. Next thing you want to do is you want to sprinkle the countertop if you need to. You don't always have to. It depends on how comfortable you are working with sticky dough. And you want to roll this out. We're going to make jumbo ones. So this normally makes 24, but we're going to make 12, and we're going to roll this into a 12 by, let's do 18 inches. And I think that is about 30 by 45 centimeters. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that. My math's a little off. And you just roll up and roll down, and every once in a while turn it so it doesn't stick to the counter. And you do this until you get the size that you want. Again, you can make 12 jumbo rolls or 24 smaller ones. Once you get it all weighed out, you're going to need a 9 by 13 pan or a 13 by 23 centimeter, I believe. I could be completely wrong about that again. And when I get it completely done, I like to just lift it up just to ensure that it's not sticking to the table and let those glutens relax. As you can see, it's wanting to bounce back a little bit, and that's okay. Just straighten it up the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are homemade. Next thing you're going to need is 1/4 cup of butter or margarine. You can use as little as 2 tablespoons here if you like. 56 grams if you're using the 1/4 cup. And you spread it out evenly. Leave about a 1/2 inch or 1.25 centimeters at one of the bottoms, free of both the butter and this cinnamon brown sugar mixture. Once you get this all sprinkled out, you're going to roll it up loosely into a log. I like to roll from the 12-inch side. And don't roll it tight, because if you roll it too tight, it will puff up in the middle whenever it bakes, and it doesn't look very pretty. Sometimes it puffs up in the middle when it bakes because you crowd the pan, which I'm going to be doing. But don't worry about that. It won't take long. And see how it's wanting to fight with me as I roll it up? Not a big deal. You just straighten it up as you go. Now the two end pieces won't have as much filling. You can either discard those completely or bake them. I personally bake them because I think they're delicious, and I'm not going to waste anything. Once you get to the end, you just kind of press it down and it will seal on itself because it's a very sticky dough. If you're having trouble having it seal, just wet the end with a little bit of water. Now you want to cut it into 12 equal pieces. If you have dental floss, you can use dental floss, and I show that method in the sourdough video, and I'll link that below. But if you don't have dental floss, a regular serrated knife will work really well. The serrated knife helps you from flatten them out. If you don't have a serrated knife, you don't have dental floss, use a regular knife and just kind of smush them back together whenever you get done. It'll still taste absolutely delicious. And we're just cutting these. You can measure it and get 12 exact equal pieces, or you can just do what I'm doing here and eyeball it. You want to grease your pan really well before you place them in there. Use cooking spray, oil, butter, whatever you prefer, and then you're going to cover it and leave it for an hour. The last 15 minutes, turn on your oven to 375 or 190°C. As you can see, some of them puffed up in the middle. That's okay. It's just going to be even more delicious. You're going to bake these about 20 to 25 minutes, 30 if you want them well done. Let's make a topping. 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, which is about 1.25 milliliters, 1 cup of powdered sugar, which is 125 grams, and then you're going to add 1 to 3 tablespoons of milk between 15 to 45 milliliters. Add it about a teaspoon at a time so you get the consistency you're looking for. Some people like this really thick, other people like it runny. If you prefer, you can double, triple this topping. You don't have to have any at all. Sometimes I get really generous and I make a couple cups of this. It really just depends on how well you like the icing. I think they're wonderful without the icing, and of course they're amazing with the icing. So this part is completely optional. Just wait 5 to 10 minutes before you put it on. If you put it on too soon, it'll just pour everywhere. It'll fall off and it'll make a big mess. So let it cool about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, you can see that some of these are puffy up in the middle. That's because the pan was really crowded. It's okay. This is just a presentation thing. We're not selling these in the store, and honestly, if we were still selling them in the store, people would love them because they taste absolutely amazing. They just don't look as beautiful as the uniform store-bought ones are. Again, homemade. Expect the unexpected when you're baking. Once you do that, you'll be so much happier because you'll think, I don't care that it doesn't look beautiful. It tastes absolutely amazing. And I want to eat like all of these, but I know I really shouldn't because they're just about 300 calories each. And that's not good to eat. Like, what is that? 300 times 12. Oh my gosh. Let's not even talk about that. I think it's like 3,600 calories for the whole pan. And I could probably do it. Okay, now that we've let these iced, we're going to remove one and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I really like these. If you like them a little less brown, bake them at 350. Same amount of time. You'll just get less browning on the edges. That is up to you. I like them where they're actually done throughout and they're still soft. Doesn't this just look amazing? Trust me, this is worth trying. Visit us at jacksonsjob.com for more cinnamon roll recipes. And as always, have a great day and happy baking.